The week following the initial reunion passed in a whirlwind of carefully orchestrated family activities, public appearances, and private moments that would reshape the Sussex family's relationship with the British royal family forever. Kate found herself experiencing a profound sense of optimism that she hadn't felt regarding family dynamics in several years. Each morning brought new opportunities for connection. Lilibet Diana had quickly adapted to the rhythm of royal life, showing remarkable resilience and curiosity about her British heritage. Her vocabulary expanded daily as she absorbed new words and concepts, often surprising the adults with her astute observations about the differences between her California home and her royal relatives' lifestyle. Kate had established a routine of morning walks through the Windsor grounds with Meghan and the children, creating informal time for adult conversation while allowing the cousins to bond naturally. These walks became sacred spaces where honest discussions could flourish away from the scrutiny of cameras and the pressure of official schedules. During one particularly meaningful morning walk, Meghan opened up about the challenges of raising children with royal heritage while living outside the traditional royal system. "I sometimes worry that Lilibet and Archie will feel disconnected from this part of their identity," she confided to Kate as they watched their children collect interesting stones along the garden path. Kate listened thoughtfully before responding. "Identity is complex for all of us, isn't it? George, Charlotte, and Louis will have different relationships with their royal heritage than William did, just as William's experience differed from Harry's. What matters most is that they feel loved and supported in discovering who they are meant to become." The conversation evolved into a deeper discussion about balancing public duty with personal authenticity, a challenge that both women understood intimately despite their different approaches to resolving it. Kate found herself genuinely appreciating Meghan's perspective on maintaining independence while honoring family connections. Lilibet's relationship with Queen Elizabeth II had blossomed beyond anyone's expectations. The elderly monarch, despite her advanced age and increasing fragility, seemed energized by her great-granddaughter's presence. Daily afternoon visits to the Queen's private apartments became a cherished tradition, where Lilibet would sit beside her great-grandmother examining photo albums and listening to stories about family history. "She understands so much more than we realize," the Queen observed to Kate during one of these sessions. "When I tell her about her grandfather Charles or her great-grandfather Philip, she listens with such intensity. I believe she's absorbing family history in ways that will stay with her throughout her life." Kate was deeply moved by watching these intergenerational exchanges. The Queen's obvious delight in sharing stories with Lilibet created a bridge between past and future that felt both healing and hopeful. These moments reminded everyone present that family connections transcended geographical boundaries and personal disagreements. Archie had developed a special bond with Prince William, who recognized his nephew's natural athleticism and competitive spirit. Their daily football sessions in the palace courtyard became legendary among the staff, with Archie's skills improving dramatically under his uncle's patient instruction. William's approach was gentle but encouraging, helping build Archie's confidence while creating positive associations with his British family. "He has real talent," William shared with Kate and Harry one evening after a particularly energetic training session. "His coordination and understanding of the game strategy are remarkable for his age." Harry beamed with paternal pride while also expressing gratitude for his brother's investment in Archie's development. "He talks about Uncle William's football tips constantly. You're creating memories that he'll treasure forever." These shared activities were rebuilding trust between the brothers in ways that formal conversations had struggled to achieve. Sports provided a neutral territory where they could connect as fathers and brothers without rehashing past conflicts or dwelling on complicated emotions. Kate's own children were thriving with the extended family presence. George had assumed a protective older cousin role, helping Archie navigate unfamiliar royal protocols while sharing insights about British customs and traditions. Charlotte flourished as a caring mentor to Lilibet, patiently teaching her new games and including her in activities with remarkable maturity for her age. Louis, initially overwhelmed by the excitement of having new playmates, had settled into comfortable routines with both cousins. His natural enthusiasm and infectious laughter seemed to bring out the best in everyone, creating an atmosphere of joy that enhanced every family gathering. The public appearances during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations showcased the family's renewed unity to the world. Kate watched with pride and relief as Harry and Meghan participated gracefully in official events while ensuring their children felt comfortable and secure. Lilibet's first public balcony appearance at Buckingham Palace became a memorable moment that would be discussed for years to come. The toddler's wide-eyed wonder at seeing thousands of people cheering below captured hearts across the Commonwealth. Her natural wave and delighted smile suggested she possessed an innate understanding of her role as a bridge between traditions and modernity, between British heritage and global citizenship. Behind the scenes, Kate worked tirelessly to ensure that every aspect of the visit supported family healing rather than creating additional stress. She coordinated with palace staff to accommodate dietary preferences, arranged for familiar items from California to be available for the children's comfort, and facilitated private time for difficult conversations between family members. Her efforts extended to managing media coverage thoughtfully, working with communications teams to ensure that positive family moments received appropriate attention while protecting the children's privacy. Kate understood that public perception would influence the family's ability to maintain these improved relationships long-term. One of the most significant breakthroughs occurred during a private dinner at Windsor Castle, where the adult family members engaged in their most honest conversation since Harry and Meghan's departure from royal duties. The discussion covered grievances, misunderstandings, different perspectives, and hopes for the future. Kate served as a gentle mediator when emotions became intense, helping family members listen to each other's experiences without becoming defensive. Her natural diplomacy and genuine care for everyone's well-being created a safe space for difficult truths to be shared and acknowledged. "We all want the same things," Kate observed during a particularly emotional moment. "We want our children to know they're loved, we want our family to be whole, and we want to make positive contributions to the world. Our paths may look different, but our hearts are aligned." This realization became a turning point in the visit, allowing family members to focus on shared values rather than their differences in approach or lifestyle. The conversation continued late into the evening, with tears, laughter, and genuine reconciliation creating new foundations for future relationships. Meghan's appreciation for Kate's role in facilitating family healing was expressed through both words and gestures throughout the remaining days of their visit. The two women began planning ways to maintain connection across the Atlantic, including regular video calls between the children and collaborative charitable initiatives that could benefit from their combined influence. "You've given us such a precious gift," Meghan told Kate during their final private conversation. "Lilibet will grow up knowing she belongs to this family, not just through bloodline but through genuine love and acceptance. That means everything to Harry and me." Kate was deeply touched by Meghan's recognition of her efforts, but, more importantly, she felt genuine optimism about the family's future unity. The week had proven that love could overcome geographical distance, that children could build bridges where adults struggled, and that family bonds could be strengthened rather than weakened by honest communication. The farewell gathering took place in the same garden where the reunion had begun, creating a symbolic circle of connection and growth. Lilibet had transformed from a curious but cautious toddler to a confident little girl who ran freely among her British relatives, chattering about flowers, asking for stories, and dispensing hugs with generous enthusiasm. Her goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II was particularly poignant, with the elderly monarch holding her great-granddaughter close while whispering private words of love and blessing. Kate witnessed this exchange with deep emotion, understanding that she was observing a historic moment that would be treasured by future generations. "Will you keep the pretty flowers until I come back?" Lilibet asked Kate during their final garden walk together. "We'll plant new ones together next time you visit," Kate promised, already planning ways to ensure that future visits would be regular rather than exceptional. The departure was emotional but hopeful rather than heartbreaking. Hugs were exchanged freely, plans were made for future communication, and everyone involved seemed to understand that they had participated in something transformative rather than simply completing a diplomatic obligation. As the convoy carrying Harry's family disappeared from view, Kate stood surrounded by her own children, who were already asking when their cousins would return. The question filled her with joy rather than anxiety, evidence of how dramatically family dynamics had shifted during this remarkable week. That evening, Kate sat in her study writing personal thank you notes to staff members who had contributed to the visit's success. Her words expressed genuine gratitude for efforts that had helped heal family relationships and create positive memories for the next generation. Before bed, she checked on her children, finding them peacefully asleep surrounded by drawings and crafts they had made with their cousins during the week. George's bedside table held a football signed by both his father and Uncle Harry, a tangible reminder of family connections. Charlotte had created a photo album of the week's activities, complete with written captions describing her favorite moments with Lilibet. Louis slept clutching a small toy airplane, a gift from Archie that represented the distance their cousins would travel but also the possibility of future reunions. These simple items represented profound shifts in family relationships that would influence these children throughout their lives. Kate's final thoughts before sleep were filled with gratitude and anticipation. The week had exceeded her most optimistic hopes, proving that family love could transcend complicated circumstances when everyone involved prioritized connection over conflict. More importantly, Lilibet Diana had found her place within the extended royal family, creating bonds that would enrich her identity and provide security throughout her life. The little girl who carried her great-grandmother's name and her grandmother Diana's legacy had become a bridge between past and future, between tradition and innovation, between geographical separation and emotional connection. The visit had planted seeds for a stronger, more unified royal family that could embrace both tradition and change, both duty and personal authenticity. Kate fell asleep knowing that the next generation of royals would inherit not just titles and responsibilities, but also genuine family love that had been tested, challenged, and ultimately strengthened by their collective commitment to each other's well-being. Future visits were already being planned, with both families eager to maintain the connections that had been rebuilt during this transformative week. Kate looked forward to watching Lilibet grow into her unique role as a bridge between worlds, carrying the best of both her British heritage and her California upbringing into a future full of possibility and promise. 3 weeks had passed since Kate's initial contemplation about the upcoming visit, and now the day had finally arrived. The private jet carrying the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, along with their children Archie and Lilibet Diana, touched down at a private airfield outside London on a crisp spring morning. Kate stood beside William at the window of their sitting room at Kensington Palace, watching the convoy of vehicles that would soon bring Harry's family to their first official reunion in over 2 years. Kate's hands smoothed the fabric of her carefully chosen dress, a soft blue number that struck the right balance between formal respect for the occasion and maternal warmth for greeting children. She had spent considerable time selecting her outfit, wanting to project both dignity and approachability. Every detail mattered when the world would be watching, analyzing, and interpreting even the smallest gestures. "The advance team confirmed they've landed safely," William announced, setting down his phone. His voice carried the controlled composure he had mastered over years of public appearances, but Kate could detect the underlying current of nervous energy. Their own children had been up since dawn, excitement overriding their usual need for extra weekend sleep. George had changed his shirt twice, wanting to look properly smart for his cousin's arrival. Charlotte had practiced several conversation starters, determined to make Lilibet feel welcome despite the language barrier she imagined might exist after the toddler's time in America. Louis had simply asked repeatedly when the California cousins would arrive, his 3-year-old patience wearing thin with anticipation. Kate moved to the mirror for a final check of her appearance, then walked to the children's playroom where George, Charlotte, and Louis were arranging toys they hoped to share with their visiting cousins. The sight of their innocent preparation touched her heart. Children possessed a natural ability to focus on joy and connection rather than the complicated history that had created distance between their parents. "Remember, Archie and Lilibet might be a bit tired from their long journey," Kate explained gently to her children. "Let's give them time to feel comfortable before we start all our games and activities." Charlotte nodded solemnly, her natural empathy making her particularly sensitive to how others might be feeling. "I put some of my softest stuffed animals in the guest room, Mummy, in case Lilibet wants something cuddly." The thoughtfulness of her daughter's gesture brought tears to Kate's eyes. Despite all the adult complexities and media attention surrounding this reunion, the children remained focused on simple kindness and cousin love. A text message from their security team indicated the convoy was approaching the palace gates. Kate took a deep breath and gathered her family in the main entrance hall. The high ceilings and formal portraits suddenly felt imposing, and she wondered how this grand setting might appear to Lilibet, who had grown accustomed to the more relaxed atmosphere of her California home. The sound of car doors closing echoed from the courtyard, followed by footsteps approaching the entrance. Kate's heart rate quickened as the moments she had imagined for weeks were about to become reality. The heavy doors opened, and Harry stepped through first, his familiar smile appearing genuinely warm despite the formal nature of the occasion. "Hello, everyone," Harry said, his voice carrying both happiness and a hint of nervousness that matched Kate's own emotional state. Meghan followed close behind, holding the hand of a curious toddler with bright eyes and soft curls. Lilibet Diana had grown significantly since the last photographs Kate had seen, her facial features beginning to show hints of both the Spencer and Markle family characteristics. She wore a simple pink dress with comfortable shoes, practical choices for a long day of family activities. Archie entered last, staying close to his parents but clearly interested in exploring his surroundings. He had inherited Harry's red hair and animated expressions, though his demeanor seemed more reserved than Kate remembered from their last meeting. At 3.5 years old, he was at an age where he might remember some family faces while feeling uncertain about others. The initial greetings were warmly polite, with hugs exchanged between the adults and careful introductions made for the children. Kate knelt to Lilibet's eye level, offering her most gentle smile. "Hello, darling," Kate said softly. "I'm your Aunt Catherine. We're so happy you're here to visit us." Lilibet regarded Kate with the serious consideration typical of toddlers meeting new people. Her grip on Meghan's hand tightened slightly, but her expression remained more curious than fearful. After a moment, she pointed to the fresh flowers Kate had arranged in the entrance hall. "Pretty flowers," Lilibet said clearly, her American accent noticeable but her words perfectly understandable. "Would you like to see more flowers in our garden?" Kate asked, delighted by the child's observation and clear speech. The suggestion sparked interest in all the children, providing a natural transition from the formal entrance hall to the more relaxed outdoor spaces where they could interact more freely. The group moved through the palace corridors toward the private gardens, with George and Charlotte flanking their cousin Archie while Louis bounced excitedly beside his parents. Outside, the spring garden was at its peak beauty. Daffodils and tulips created colorful displays throughout the carefully maintained beds, while cherry and apple trees offered shade and natural play areas. Kate had specifically requested that the gardening staff prepare several child-friendly spaces where the cousins could explore together safely. "It's exactly as I remembered," Harry said, his voice carrying genuine emotion as he looked across the familiar landscape where he had played as a child. Meghan appeared genuinely impressed by the garden's beauty. "This is absolutely stunning. Lily, look at all the different colored flowers." The children began to gravitate naturally toward each other, with Charlotte taking a protective older cousin role toward Lilibet while George engaged Archie in conversation about the various outdoor activities available. Louis, delighted to have new playmates, immediately began demonstrating his favorite hiding spots among the garden bushes. Kate and Meghan found themselves walking side by side as they followed the children's exploration. The conversation started tentatively, focusing on safe topics like travel experiences and the children's development, but gradually became more natural as they observed their sons and daughters beginning to bond. "Lilibet seems to be adjusting well to new environments," Kate observed, watching the toddler's confident exploration of the garden paths. "She's naturally curious about everything," Meghan replied with obvious maternal pride. "Sometimes I think she inherited Harry's adventurous spirit along with his determination to explore every corner of any new place." The comment brought a smile to Kate's face, reminding her of Harry's childhood tendency to disappear during family gatherings, only to be found in the most unlikely locations throughout whatever home they were visiting. Some family characteristics seemed to pass naturally from generation to generation. William and Harry had moved to a bench overlooking the children's play area, their conversation appearing more intense than the casual exchanges Kate and Meghan were sharing. She could see both men making conscious efforts to bridge the gap that had developed between them, though their body language suggested the process remained challenging. Lunchtime approached with the children having successfully engaged in several group activities. They had collected colorful leaves for an art project Charlotte had suggested, explored the small pond where George demonstrated his knowledge of local wildlife, and played an elaborate game of hide and seek that had everyone laughing together. The informal lunch was served in the family dining room rather than any of the more formal palace spaces. Kate had requested a menu that would appeal to children while accommodating any dietary preferences the California family might have developed. Sandwiches, fresh fruit, and homemade biscuits created a relaxed atmosphere that encouraged conversation. During the meal, Lilibet demonstrated her growing vocabulary and social skills, asking questions about the food, commenting on the room's decorations, and showing particular interest in the family photographs displayed on nearby shelves. Her questions were innocent and direct, providing natural opportunities for family storytelling. "Who's that lady?" Lilibet asked, pointing to a photograph of Princess Diana holding a young Prince William. The question created a moment of profound silence among the adults. Kate watched as Harry's expression softened, clearly moved by his daughter's curiosity about the grandmother she would never meet but whose name she carried. "That's your Granny Diana," Harry explained gently. "She was Daddy's mummy, and she would have loved you very much." William added softly, "She would have spoiled you terribly with presents and attention. She loved being a grandmother more than anything else in the world." The conversation about Diana opened a door to sharing other family stories and memories. George and Charlotte began asking their own questions about relatives they had heard about but never met, while Archie listened attentively to stories about his father's childhood adventures. Kate noticed how naturally Meghan participated in these family conversations, asking thoughtful questions and sharing appropriate observations. Despite the physical distance that had developed over the past few years, Meghan's genuine interest in family history and connection remained evident. After lunch, Queen Elizabeth II made a special appearance to meet her great-granddaughter properly for the first time. The meeting was arranged to be as informal as possible, taking place in the Queen's private sitting room rather than any official reception area. Kate watched with deep emotion as the elderly monarch, now nearing her 96th birthday, held Lilibet Diana on her lap while sharing stories about the child's namesakes. The Queen's eyes sparkled with genuine delight as Lilibet examined her jewelry and asked questions about the family photographs surrounding them. "She has Diana's eyes," the Queen observed quietly to Kate while Lilibet was distracted by a small music box on the nearby table. The comment carried layers of meaning that only family members could fully appreciate. Diana's expressive eyes had been one of her most memorable features, and seeing hints of that same characteristic in her granddaughter created a powerful connection across generations. Archie spent considerable time examining the Queen's collection of horse figurines, asking detailed questions about each breed and showing knowledge that surprised the adults. His father's love of polo and the royal family's general passion for equestrian activities seemed to have been inherited by the next generation, even across continents. Late afternoon brought a private tea service in the garden, where the extended family could relax without the formality that had characterized earlier parts of the day. The children played freely while the adults engaged in deeper conversations about their lives, challenges, and hopes for the future. Kate found herself in a one-on-one conversation with Meghan while the others were occupied with various activities. The discussion covered practical topics like parenting in the public eye, managing children's education across different cultures, and maintaining family traditions while adapting to new environments. "I often wonder what Lilibet will remember about today when she's older," Meghan shared, watching her daughter chase bubbles that Charlotte was blowing across the garden. "The feeling of being loved and welcomed," Kate replied without hesitation. "Children remember emotions more than specific details. She'll remember feeling safe and happy here." The conversation was interrupted by the sound of delighted laughter as Lilibet successfully caught one of Charlotte's bubbles, her face lighting up with pure joy at the simple accomplishment. The moment captured everything Kate had hoped for from this reunion, genuine family connection transcending complicated circumstances. As evening approached, the visiting family prepared to depart for their accommodation at Frogmore Cottage, Harry's former residence on the Windsor grounds. The goodbyes were warm but not overly emotional, suggesting successful progress toward rebuilding family relationships without rushing the process. Lilibet surprised everyone by running to Kate for a final hug, her small arms wrapping around Kate's legs with unexpected affection. "Thank you for pretty flowers," she said clearly, her first independent expression of gratitude. Kate knelt down to return the hug properly, her heart full of hope for continued connection with this special little girl who carried such significant family history in her name and presence. "You're very welcome, darling. We hope you'll come visit our garden again very soon," Kate replied, meaning every word of the invitation. That evening, after their own children were settled in bed with excited stories about their day with their cousins, Kate and William reflected on the significance of what had transpired. The reunion had exceeded Kate's most optimistic expectations, providing evidence that family bonds could survive geographical distance and personal disagreements when everyone involved prioritized love over conflict. The day had planted seeds of hope for continued healing and connection, though Kate understood that one successful visit would need to be followed by sustained effort from all family members. The children, however, had demonstrated that cousin love transcended adult complications, offering the strongest foundation for future family unity. Kate's anticipation. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Adelaide Cottage as Catherine, Princess of Wales, sat at her wooden desk, carefully reviewing the guest arrangements for the upcoming Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Her fingers traced over the official invitation list, pausing momentarily when she spotted the names that had become both familiar and distant over the past few years: Prince Harry and Meghan, Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Kate set down her pen and walked to the window, gazing out at the peaceful Windsor grounds. The cherry trees were in full bloom, their delicate pink petals dancing in the gentle breeze. It reminded her of the springs when Harry would visit regularly, when family gatherings felt natural and unforced. Those days seemed like a lifetime ago, yet the memory remained vivid in her mind. The sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway as Prince William entered the room, still wearing his morning exercise clothes. He noticed the contemplative expression on his wife's face and followed her gaze toward the gardens. "Thinking about the upcoming visit?" William asked, his voice carrying both understanding and a hint of uncertainty. Kate nodded slowly. "I keep wondering what it will be like to see them again. Especially little Lilibet Diana. She'll be walking now, probably saying her first words." The mention of Harry's daughter brought a soft smile to Kate's face. Named after Queen Elizabeth II and William's late mother, Princess Diana, the child represented both connection and complexity for the royal family. Kate had only seen photographs of Lilibet, carefully curated images shared through official channels and occasional glimpses in media coverage. "She's almost the same age as Louis was when he started getting into everything," Kate continued, her maternal instincts stirring as she imagined the toddler's personality beginning to emerge. William moved closer to his wife, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. The tension in his posture revealed the mixed emotions he carried about his brother's return. Years of public disagreements, interviews, and memoir revelations had created distance that once seemed impossible to bridge. "The children are excited," William said, referring to their own 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. "Charlotte especially has been asking about her American cousins." Kate remembered the careful conversations they'd had with their children about Uncle Harry and Aunt Meghan living far away in California. George, now old enough to understand some of the complexities, had asked thoughtful questions about why his uncle chose to leave England. Charlotte, ever the diplomatic middle child, simply wanted to know when she could play with Archie and Lilibet again. Louis, still young and innocent, mainly wondered if his cousins would bring any interesting toys from America. The morning routine continued as Kate prepared for her daily schedule of royal engagements. Today included a visit to a local children's hospital, where she would spend time with young patients and their families. These interactions always grounded her, reminding her of the real impact their royal work could have on people's lives. As she selected her outfit for the day, Kate found herself thinking about Meghan's fashion choices during their California appearances. The Duchess of Sussex had embraced a more relaxed, American style, often wearing flowing dresses and casual blazers that reflected her new lifestyle. Kate wondered if Meghan would return to more formal royal attire during their UK visit, or if she would maintain her California aesthetic. The drive to the hospital gave Kate time to reflect on the early days of her relationship with Meghan. She remembered the excitement when Harry first introduced his American girlfriend to the family. Meghan had been warm, intelligent, and clearly devoted to Harry. Kate had hoped they would become close friends, sharing the unique experience of marrying into the royal family. Those first months had shown promise. Kate had tried to include Meghan in family traditions, inviting her to private gatherings and offering guidance about royal protocol. They had shared laughs during official engagements and seemed to genuinely enjoy each other's company. Kate had even looked forward to their children growing up together, imagining holidays and family celebrations with cousins playing happily in the background. At the hospital, Kate's thoughts were temporarily redirected as she met with 6-year-old Emma, a patient recovering from a rare genetic condition. Emma's mother shared how much the little girl loved reading about princesses, and Kate spent extra time hearing about Emma's favorite stories. The interaction reminded Kate of her own passion for early childhood development and the importance of family support during difficult times. During lunch with the hospital's charitable foundation board, Kate found herself thinking about Harry and Meghan's own charitable work in America. Despite their departure from royal duties, they had maintained their commitment to causes close to their hearts: mental health awareness, veteran support, and social justice initiatives. Kate respected their continued dedication to making a positive difference, even as she wished they could have found a way to pursue those goals while remaining working royals. The afternoon brought a visit to a local primary school, where Kate participated in an outdoor learning session with 7-year-old students. As she helped children plant seeds in the school garden, she thought about Archie, who would be starting school soon himself. She wondered what kind of educational experience Harry and Meghan had chosen for their son in California, and whether they incorporated British traditions into his learning. One particularly curious student asked Kate about her own family, leading to a natural conversation about siblings and cousins. Kate explained how important family relationships were, describing how her own children loved spending time with their extended family during holidays and special occasions. The innocent questions made her realize how much she missed the simplicity of family gatherings before complications arose. Evening approached as Kate returned home to Adelaide Cottage. The familiar sight of her children's bicycles parked near the entrance brought a smile to her face. Inside, the house buzzed with activity as George practiced piano in the sitting room while Charlotte worked on a school art project at the kitchen table. Louis was building an elaborate tower with wooden blocks, his concentration intense as he carefully balanced each piece. "Mummy, will cousin Archie remember how to play football when he visits?" George asked during dinner, his fork paused halfway to his mouth. "I'm sure he will," Kate replied, touched by George's eagerness to reconnect with his cousin. "Maybe you can teach him some new techniques you've learned." Charlotte chimed in with her own questions about Lilibet. "Do you think she looks like Granny Diana in the old photographs? Daddy says that's who she's named after." Kate exchanged a meaningful glance with William. Princess Diana remained a cherished memory for William, and the naming of Harry's daughter after their mother had been both touching and emotionally complex. Diana would have been overjoyed to meet her granddaughter, and Kate felt the weight of that absence during family moments like these. "I think she probably has beautiful eyes like your Granny Diana did," Kate answered gently. "We'll find out soon when we see her in person." That evening, after the children were settled in bed, Kate and William sat together in their private sitting room. The fireplace crackled softly as they shared a quiet cup of tea, a ritual that helped them transition from their public duties to their private time as a couple. "I've been thinking about what this visit might mean," Kate said, her hands wrapped around her warm mug. "Not just for us, but for the Queen, for the children, for the whole family dynamic." William nodded, understanding the layers of significance surrounding Harry and Meghan's return. Queen Elizabeth II, now in her 90s, had experienced both joy and heartbreak watching her family navigate public and private challenges. The upcoming Platinum Jubilee celebration would mark an incredible milestone in her reign, and having all her grandchildren present would surely mean the world to her. "I keep hoping this visit might be a turning point," Kate continued. "Maybe spending time together again, seeing the children play, remembering what we all share, maybe that could help heal some of the wounds." The conversation continued late into the evening as Kate and William discussed practical arrangements for the visit. Security details needed coordination, private family time required careful scheduling around official events, and media attention would need to be managed thoughtfully. Every aspect of the visit carried both opportunity and potential complications. As Kate prepared for bed, she found herself standing before the framed photographs on her dresser. Among the images of her wedding day, her children's christenings, and family holidays, one picture particularly caught her attention: a candid shot from Christmas several years ago showing Harry making silly faces with George while Meghan laughed in the background. The natural joy and connection captured in that moment seemed to represent everything she hoped to recapture during the upcoming visit. Kate's last thoughts before sleep were filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Would Lilibet be shy around new faces, or would she inherit the outgoing personality that seemed to run in the Spencer family? Would Archie remember his British relatives, or would the distance and time apart have created unfamiliarity? Most importantly, would this reunion provide the foundation for rebuilding relationships that had become strained over the past few years? The morning would bring new challenges and preparations, but tonight, Kate allowed herself to imagine the best possible outcomes. She pictured Lilibet taking her first tentative steps across the palace carpets, exploring the same rooms where her father had played as a child. She envisioned warm conversations with Meghan about motherhood, shared experiences, and the joys and challenges of raising children in the public eye. These hopeful thoughts accompanied Kate into peaceful sleep, her heart full of maternal love and familial hope, ready to embrace whatever the upcoming visit might bring for their complicated but beloved family.